Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with Vinland Saga. Last time around, we had Great Purpose, where basically Thorfinn and Einar discovered that Arnheid was being used as bait by Snake, who believed that Gardar had escaped. However, after being mortally wounded, Arnheid was able to hide him just under Old Man Sverkel's bed. Not 5 feet from where Snake was. So they devised a plan to try and distract Snake long enough to get Gardar out of there. But Snake was able to sniff it out and got back, and now the only thing standing between him and killing Gardar is Thorfinn. A man with no weapons, but he's gonna have to fight, much to his own dismay. And his subconscious is now taking the form of Askled, questioning, can he really do this? Is this going against his morals? And, can he do this half-assedly or not? But no, he's going to be going full force. He is going to fight. He's going to fight to defend them. So that's pretty much where we are. Yeah. Like always, the reaction is down in the description and the pinned comment for your viewing pleasure. So let's go ahead and jump right into this episode of Vinland Saga. Here we go. That was like the longest death scene in the history of fiction. How long was that? That's like half the episode was just him dying. And then in like the last 3 seconds they were like, oh, by the way, there's people on horses surrounding them. Maybe it'll be fine. What was the show? Was it Barry? I don't think it was Barry. No, maybe it was Barry. Well, I don't know. Was it? You guys will probably... Well, you might not remember. It depends on if you watch all the friggin' shows I do. What show was it where I was like, the lesson of this show is just don't? It wasn't Broadchurch, I don't think. What show was that where I was just like, don't? It might have been Barry, but the lesson of that one was don't go to LA, Playlists. It wasn't The Sopranos. It wasn't Jujutsu Kaisen. It wasn't Percy Jackson. Was it Barry? What show was I just like, don't? It was either Barry or... I don't think it was Broadchurch. It must have been Barry. Alright. Where the ultimate lesson I just came with was, don't. Just don't. And if there's anything to be taken away from Gardar's story, it's just... don't. Good grief. Now I gotta friggin... Again, man, I don't even know if I can qualify this as a reaction anymore. I'm barely talking in this, But it's hard, because, every time... I always say that these videos, first and foremost, are for entertainment, Second, they're for me actually watching these shows and, deep, analysis and stuff like that, which we do a lot on this show in particular, is the analysis. But first and foremost, I do want these videos to be entertaining. And there's a part of me that questions, is it that entertaining for me to just sit here and just be like, I'm just moaning, essentially. Just depressedly moaning. And now, I feel like... Good lord, I feel like you could probably fall asleep to the reaction I just did. There's this nice piano music, and me just going, in your ear. And now, we're back here in the discussion, and I'm talking, I'm saying words at a decent octave and decibel of volume. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Depressing ASMR. That's essentially what that was. Sad ASMR. Oh boy. It's so it's so like this show that last episode gets you hyped, you know? Last episode gets you hyped for Thorfinn versus Snake. Like, oh my god, this is first proper fight all season long. And, you know, and it's against Snake, who we know is, like, crazy cool and, like, good, you know? And it's like, oh, Thorfinn, and now there's all this emotional drama and stuff. This is just, And then the episode is just like, all right, yeah, so here's a little bit of a fight. You know, this is good. It's nice and fine. And then it's just like, and now here's depression, you know? And even, like, this show didn't used to do this, you know? Like, back in season 1, and this isn't a complaint, it's just an observation. It was like, you know, in season 1, you would get Thorfinn versus Thorkel, and that wasn't really depressing. I mean, he got his ass kicked, but at the same time, I mean, he put up a good fight, but still. Whereas here, it's just like, here, it's just like, oh yeah, you're hyped for that fight? Great, now that's over. Now, the longest death scene. There's like 15-minute death scene for this guy who we introduced like 5 episodes ago, you know? Like, all of this for a character we have not had very long. Like, this isn't... Like, it wasn't this long for Askeladd. It's not this long for, you know, Thorkel or Canute to have been around, you know? Like, goodness. I mean, I guess it's sort of like how, you know, in 4 episodes you can get so, like you get so emotionally invested in Thor's at the beginning of this show that 4 episodes in, he's dead, and you're like, oh my god, that's like the greatest tragedy of our time, you know? We only knew this dude for like 2 hours, not even, like an hour and a half, you know? This guy we probably knew for 2 hours, and it's just like, man, let's dedicate 15 minutes to this dude's death. Okay, I guess, let's start, with the fight. I do like just that little moment when they both are like, how did a guy like this end up here, you know? How did a guy with this much skill, like, get hired to guard a farm, you know? And Snake is thinking, how did a guy with this much skill end up as a slave, you know? But that's the thing, like, we know what happened with Thorfinn is after Askeladd's death and him striking Canute, he was so broken. He was so broken that they just enslaved him, and he just kept going with that, you know, till eventually he met Einar, you know. But Snake, we don't know. Was it? He is a soldier of the Miklagard is how they spell it. So that's an interesting thing. I mean, they said last episode, it's like, you know, that sword is not from around here. That sword is not from Denmark, you know? So it's like Snake obviously has some crazy backstory, but I don't know. But I do like that little moment. And then the fight, you know, Thorfinn. I mean, okay, the question is, could Thorfinn have won the fight if he had his daggers? It would have been a much different fight, I imagine, you know? I mean, the thing is, neither of them really got much damage on each other, you know? Like, they both got a couple blows, and he did get a cut on Thorfinn's face, but other than that, it actually wasn't... There wasn't that much, you know, because Thorfinn just ended up failing. It wasn't a fight. It was more of just a protection mission, and, well, Thorfinn failed. He was able to get over to Garter, so, and Thorfinn couldn't close the distance, and he stabbed him. And, you know, it's interesting when they talk about it, it's like, you know, how can he let this go? Like, you know, what is a life's worth? You know, one life for another, basically. Even though he's only getting one life for the 5 men he lost, you know? But, I mean, it is a thing about justice, you know? Now, the thing is, like, there wasn't originally a personal beef between them, you know? Like, these two aren't long-standing enemies. But that's the thing. It's like, because you were so insistent, you know? You were so insistent on this. I mean, if anything, it's kind of your greed, you know? It's kind of your greed for, even if it's not overt, like, just the fact that you're just, you know, completely going through, you're not going to, like, I guess, do the right thing, help Arnade and Garter, who, I mean, but that's the thing, you know, I was about to say who are wrongfully enslaved. Is anyone rightfully enslaved? Probably not, you know? I'm pretty sure nobody is rightfully enslaved, you know? But that's the thing, you know, like, because you kept doing this, it's like, you know, I don't want to say it's like divine retribution, but it's like, that's pretty much the reason why you lost your men. You didn't have to do any of this, you know? You didn't have to do any of this. Your master was not here, you know? Your employer was not here to giving you these orders, you know? Catil is still in a boat, in a barrel, crying to himself, you know? Like, he is still in a barrel on Leif's boat. Like, you did this of your own accord for 3 horses. Congratulations. You now don't have 3 horses, and you lost 5 men. Like, I don't know. This is kind of on you, you know? This is kind of on you. Like, when you're saying, like, oh, he's taken so much from me, it's like, you kind of took a lot from him, too, you know? Like, if anything, like, Garter was the storm. You did not stand by, you know? You did not get out of the way. You went faced it head on, and you got hurt. Of course that's going to happen, you know? Like, if you get out of the way, it might not hurt, you know? So that's the thing, is that, you know, it's essentially, you stood right in front of a storm, and you got angry with that storm because you got hurt by it. Like, buddy, you're the one in front of the moving bus. You're the one who jumps out in the middle of traffic trying to do something, you know? You're trying to, you know, halt the car like Costanza with the Frogger machine, you know? Like, and then you get mad. You get mad that you got hit, you know? That's really it. And I mean, you guess you did it. But was it worth it? I don't know. It's like, I don't really have the sympathy for Snake for this, you know? It's like, there were a lot of ways around this. Without losing 5 of your men versus 1 of him. You know? I don't know, man. I don't know. I think Garter, what the hell? Like, you know, because we talked about a little bit, like, when they showed the backstory of, like, oh, yeah, we're going to go do this so that we can get the iron. And I was kind of talking about, I was like, are you even a good fighter? Like, are you a good warrior? Do you even know? Like, are you just getting into this? I was like, turns out Garter was a beast, you know? Garter was a beast. Now, whoever he was fighting, I guess are more beasts, you know? Whoever he fought and lost to, I guess were bigger beasts than him, which was how he was enslaved. But it's just like this dude lost so much blood, and then he got stabbed again, and he still got up and choked this dude out. And held him so tight, you know, with such a strong grip that Thorfinn could not break him, you know? He couldn't break it, so... but then... She talked him down. She talked down the beast. And they were sent off down the road. And there's like a second, like, just the imagery is just so interesting. It's like, for a second I was almost wondering if the Valkyries are going to come in, you know? I mean, we don't know. Like, you can't even be like, oh, you know, so was he, you know, sent to the purgatory of warriors and stuff like that? It's like, but that's not a thing. That's in Thorfinn's head, basically, you know? Like, I like that there's actually no similarities between what Thorfinn views as a sort of afterlife and what Garter views as an afterlife. Like, I like that it's 2 separate things. Like, that's really interesting, you know? So, So that's interesting. Like, none of the imagery is the same, really, Like, where, Thorfinn, he sees this sort of wasteland with this light in the distance, and then he falls through, and he sees the, flaming purgatory, the flaming purgatory that Askeladd and the warriors are in, but with Garder, he sees the road, He sees the road, but then again, you could say, perhaps at the end, he did reach Valhalla, He did reach Valhalla. However, when we see that, it's his last moments alive, I think we've talked about this before on this show, but I remember I watched this video, and this is a YouTube video, so take all of this with a grain of salt, but I remember I watched this YouTube video where these guys were talking about stuff, and one of them said that he had some friends that had this drug that was basically like, it's the chemical that your brain releases, that your body releases to your brain just before you die. And it's also the thing that I'm pretty sure that's basically where dreams come from, But they had this, and they took it, and he was like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. I don't want to try something weird, And so his buddy went off for 15 minutes into another room, came back 15 minutes later, and he was like, I have just lived in a forest with elves for 30 years. And you're just like, well, okay, it's been 15 minutes. And he's like, bro, I'm a completely different person now. I've just lived an entire life. And he's like, okay, I think you're still high on the drug you just took. But still, it's like, it's that thing, this chemical that releases, basically putting your mind at ease, when you go to sleep and when you friggin' die, And, we can sit here and be like, yes, he achieved, he managed to go to heaven. I almost turned to Poochie for a second. He achieved heaven. No, but he reached heaven. He reached the true Valhalla. But it was really just his mind, It was his mind giving him peace. Because even still, when he got there, and, he holds his son, and he says, I'm home, he still is just barely alive enough to say that. Because Arnheid hears it and responds, welcome home, Garder. So that's the thing, Like, is there an afterlife? Is there not? Like, this show doesn't tell us, I mean, that's the thing. It doesn't show... There's no fantastical element about this. Even an afterlife is not explicitly shown. What we see could be, they certainly could be these things, but they could also just be these people's minds, basically. It's Thorfinn's mind telling him things. Back in season 1, when he would have these visions of his father, that wasn't his ghost, that was his mind literally telling him what he should know, and he wouldn't accept it, Or, his mind, as he, when he got the crap kicked out of him, and his mind sees Askeladd, he sees the purgatory, For Garder, he sees the road, The road, the slaves abandoned by the gods, and, him being lucky enough to do that. He, in that last moment, he repented. He atoned for what he had done, He realized the error of his ways, and his mind gave him that vision, He didn't... At the end, he said, he'll probably... my son will probably he'll probably grow up and want to be an adventurous Viking, but I won't let him because it's not right. It's a terrible life and he shouldn't do that, And he sees himself leaving his wife and son, and he thinks, why did I do that? Why? I should not have done that, He goes back and sees these moments like Eren Yeager sees those moments, Except instead of leading to garbage, it led to good stuff, We'll just tick that off the box. I managed to piss off Attack on Titan fans again. We'll reset the counter on how many episodes it's been. Oh my god. But he did it. He I guess he repented. But did he even do anything? You know, he saw the error of his ways after his life flashed before his eyes, you know? He died at peace, basically. He died at peace. Which, hey, it's what we can all hope for, is to die at peace. Again, man, I feel like I hope, I assume people that watch the reactions to this watch the discussions, because, like, again, there's a part of me, it's like, because I'm taking it all in, you know, don't think I'm, like, ignoring it, but it's like, no, I'm taking it all in, obviously, but it can be so hard to react to this show sometimes. Like, I definitely feel like, if you want bang for your buck on these videos, it is honestly in these discussions, you know, when we get really analytical. And it's great. These discussions are some of my favorite that I've ever done on this channel, honestly, you know? Because we can discuss all sorts of things. You know, I can have a long discussion about Demon Slayer and stuff, and that's all nice and good. But at the end of the day, it is Demon Slayer, you know? It's a shonen battle anime, where it's like, this one makes you think about life, yourself, you know, the universe, the world, all that stuff, you know? And I love a good show that does that. So yeah, that is basically it. With all of that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of my Vinland Saga reactions, as well as another video you can go click on if you want. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you need to go check out any of those. See you guys later.